Nothing like a few hundred feet of climbing to start the ride, to the ride.
So my buddy Woody, aka Roached Clips, was planning what he called a Sheetzury with his buddy Mark. I think they did this last year, a few of them. I think he might have posted about it in our friend's Instagram. I don't think he promoted it as much of a group ride, but this time he had promoted it, and the idea was that it was going to be a century ride with 3 Sheetz stops, and you were supposed to get MTO food at each Sheetz. I had to look up MTO, made to order, for those of you who don't know. The ride was going to be starting at a park in Medina, but instead of driving a car out there, I rode over to Ben's house, and then me and Ben rode out to the ride. Of course, that's not going to surprise any of you, is it? Sheetz's social media team is on point because Woody reached out to them and told him what he was doing. They gave him that magnet you saw, and then they also gave him a set of Sheetz gift cards, which he handed out based on, just kind of the bike, like Jay Dandy's Gary Fisher there, and a couple other criteria. We left on the roads. It was going to be a road ride, a country road ride. A lot of roads that I had never ridden. Looking at the route, I did put the route on there. It was kind of a ride at your own pace thing. But we did keep the group together for a reasonable while. That's my buddy Aaron there. His tires started to go flat. We waited up, got it fixed. It started to go flat again. Him and Ben hung back, got it fixed, got it to hold air, and then he was able to catch up down the road later. I did know some of the people on the ride. There were a couple Joy Machines people from the bike shop up in Cleveland. There were a couple of my friends from here in Akron. But there were a number of people that I had never met before, and I got to ride with some new people, and we chatted and made some new friends out on the road, so that's always awesome. Get to see other people's perspective, nerd out about bikes. Obviously, I did not get a bike together, and I was thinking of trying to get a vintage road bike together in time. I didn't. So I was riding my Raleigh gravel bike with its big old front bag and the jack the rack and everything like that. So one guy did make a joke about, I can't remember if it's something like you have ice cream for all of us in that bag, but it wasn't being a jerk. It really, for a road ride that was moving at a pretty good pace, it was kind of a, overbike setup for sure. But I just don't really mind that anymore, as if you follow this channel regularly, And one guy, and the same thing, he wasn't being a jerk, but just even when Aaron got a flat, he was like, wow, one of the fat tire bikes got a flat. So it's just funny, when it comes to roadies, like our gravel bikes are fat tire bikes. To me, a fat tire bike is much fatter, obviously, a true fat bike, or even, my Raleigh is only running on 44s, which to me a lot of times now with my group of friends look narrow. This is going to be the climbingest century I've ever done in my life. I think it had some 5,500 feet of elevation on paper. So I was curious as to how well I would go. Some of the organizers and a few people hung back with some riders who weren't moving quite as quick. I was able to hang with the people who were riding a little more towards the front. And that was kind of what my thought process was for the day. I was going to just try and ride fairly hard and fast with people for a while and then just fall off the pace when I needed to, or if I needed to. At the end of the day, when I looked at my miles, most of the miles for me were new. I think probably over 60%, maybe even closer to 70% of roads I haven't ridden before. As you can see here, these are just beautiful country roads to ride. Speaking of beautiful country roads, the ABC ride was also going on this day, the absolutely beautiful country ride. And I think we passed in the opposite direction people who were doing the shorter ride on that. So I think that's also a century ride that takes place on some similar roads out here. I've never done it, but a number of my friends have. And then a couple of my friends were involved with the organization and the design work for a little bit with that event. I met one of the organizers at a art event, actually, I don't know, probably a month and a half ago. They introduced themselves and said they were a fan of the channel, so that was kind of cool. This is us arriving at the first Sheetz. I was walking around checking out the bikes everyone was riding. It's always fun to do that as a bicycle nerd. I'm not gonna lie, I did not get any made-to-order MTO food at the first Sheetz. No. I just couldn't do it. It was like 90 degrees. Woody's there with the tacos. I think almost everyone else played by the rules. I decided not to. We regrouped, I think, pretty much entirely there. But then I know a couple people did break off and head back a shorter way. I think Woody actually rode with them, and he was going to then try and rejoin the ride at the second Sheetz. After the first Sheetz and all the way up to the second Sheetz, I have to say, me and my group of friends kind of formed up, or a group of us kind of formed up, and we were moving. I was surprised. I mean, I just, I don't really do a lot of rides where I'm like putting it out there for long periods at a time anymore. I just did a couple of the bike tours and stuff like that where the loaded bike kind of makes you do that no matter what pace you're going if there's climbing. I wasn't sure what kind of shape that had put me in. I mean, I knew it was good. We had, done, thousands of feet of climbing each day with loaded bikes. But it definitely did feel like it translated, and when I was riding a non-loaded bike that I was able to move pretty good even on a climby ride.
A little bit of rain.
We thought we were going to get soaked. The sky looked super dark. It was definitely moving in our direction, but we only ever got a little bit of drizzle. We never really got soaked through. This is one of those days where getting kind of rained on would have been bad. I never want to get caught in thunderstorms, but getting damp at this one would have been a big deal. Here we are arriving at Sheetz number 2. It was just me and the group of friends here that got there first, but then we waited up and met up with some other people. We took off before them since we had already been there for a while, and it's a century ride. I thought everybody was going on who was there to finish it, but it turns out a lot of the guys decided that they were going to head back and call it. So it was really just my buddy John, my buddy Aaron, my buddy Ben, and our friend Chris, who soldiered on our own and kind of kept up a pretty decent pace as well on the rest of this section. We got to this part, there was a bridge out. We really did not want to go around. I didn't film any of it because we ended up taking turns handing bikes over the little ravine there, and we were able to get around it. Oh, by the way, I did get MTO at the second Sheetz. I did get tacos and decided to try those out. I was ready for some real fuel at that point and some more food. But yeah, we soldiered on, doing really good. We were really still kind of pushing the pace. As I've mentioned, it's just not really the way I ride anymore, but sometimes it is kind of fun to get out there and do that and just kind of go for it. That spot there is Country Made. It's an orchard, but they also do ice cream in the summer, a place I went a lot when we were kids. We're kind of we're getting out into Richfield here. The place we just passed is where the Richfield Coliseum was, where the Cleveland Cavs used to play. If you know basketball, before they moved back downtown Cleveland. A lot of climbing, a lot of really fun descents. I actually hit over 42 miles an hour on a couple of them. So yeah, like I said, an up and down day. Out here we were hitting up the hike and bike and then heading towards the final Sheetz from there. The Sheetz are obviously on busier roads, but besides getting in and out of the Sheetz areas, like everything was like pretty chill country roads. I don't think we really had any trouble with cars or anything like that. Here we are at Sheetz number 3.
That sounds good.
What are you getting?
Chili mac and cheese. Oh my god.
What's that?
Yeah.
Spread the booty.
You're a jerk.
John and Ben, they stuck to the spirit of the ride and got the MTO food at every single Sheetz. Chili mac at the last stop. I don't know how Ben did it. And then John had some kind of, I can't remember, it had some weird name, ice cream thing. By the way, Sheetz are not cheap. Like the made-to-order food isn't super cheap, and then like just the stuff even on the shelves, like for gas station prices, I found more expensive than normal. Like when you're on a road trip and you pick up some crackers or something like that. Everything was more expensive at Sheetz. We were talking at the first two about it was almost more like drugstore prices than anything. This is us heading back into the Cuyahoga Valley. Then when we were down there, I actually took the front for a while because I knew I'd be breaking off and have my dinner break.
101 miles. I broke off the route to head to my parents for dinner. But I got my century and went to all 3 Sheetz, so. Back on the road. About 10 more miles, I think. Also, it poured rain while I was at my parents' house. So, I mean poured. About 2 minutes after I got there.
So instead of taking it easy, I had this over 15 mile an hour average, and then in my mind I'm like, well, now I got to stick to it. Let me know if you guys do stuff like this. There's some metric and then you just hang on even though no one's going to care except yourself. And so I'm hammering it all the way through the valley because I know I'm going to have to climb and I'm going to lose some of my average when I get to the end of the towpath here. I did hang on to that average and I ended up with 114 miles and over 5,500 feet of elevation. If you're a channel member, you saw my channel members video how I was still tired the next day. Thanks to Mark and Woody for organizing. I'll link Roached Clips stuff down below. Thanks always for watching. Peace.
Edmund, you don't like it when I ride a hundo because you miss me.